Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a quick little video to end off the year. How is the 2020 Supra on a road trip? We usually take this road trip every year from Texas to Tennessee and then to Chicago for Christmas, and we usually take the FRS, but this year, 2 days before the trip, the throwout bearing went out, and it's a pretty common failure on those cars, but I didn't expect it to just go out right before the trip, and I didn't have enough time to get all the parts needed to replace it. So we took the Supra. So this trip usually takes about 16 hours. We drive from here to Tennessee to visit Mary's family, and then we head up to Chicago from there. If you take the fastest route, it's usually about 13 to 14 hours from here to Chicago. As I was packing our stuff, it wasn't really too difficult to get everything in there. Because it's a hatch, the space is actually pretty versatile. Now the Supra does list as having more cargo space than the FRS, but really the only reason for that is because the cargo space goes all the way up to the front seats, whereas on the FRS, it only goes up to the back seats. If you have the back seats folded down, or even if you have them folded up, the FRS just has overall more space inside the car. We pack pretty lightly, I would say, compared to most other people. I've traveled with friends as well as co-workers, and I would say that I packed pretty lightly. What we had was one suitcase, a small one. We had 2 backpacks, we had a bag full of gifts, we had a bag of food, we had a yoga mat as well as a couple other small things here and there, and we also had our dog. So everything fit pretty neatly within the hatch. I would say it wasn't maxed out. Like if we really had to max it out, we probably could have fit another small backpack, maybe 2 backpacks worth of stuff in the back. There was also really nothing behind the seats on the floor. We probably could have tucked a couple pairs of shoes, some small items back there. And I do want to say though, if we had maxed it out, we probably wouldn't be able to see out of the back glass anymore. The way we had it set up, we could still see out of the rear view mirror. So lastly, the biggest thing is really just the dog. Because we didn't really have a back seat to put him, he had to sit and lay on the floor in the passenger side. If you have a younger, more energetic dog that likes to jump up, look out the window, scratch at stuff, having this car is probably not the best idea for a road trip. But our dog's kind of older. He just likes to lay there most of the time, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. So if the dog thing isn't really an issue, but you pack a lot more than we do, I think you could still pull it off. It just would be kind of tight and cramped in there. We did have a lot more stuff than we usually do because it is a winter road trip, so we had all of our heavy stuff like jackets and scarves, plus all the gifts for Christmas. On a summer road trip, we wouldn't have that much stuff, so it'd be a lot easier to travel in the summertime with it. I did want to mention a couple things on seating. Inevitably on a long trip like this, you're going to be eating or drinking stuff in the car. The seats that I have are the Alcantara material, and I find that they kind of stain real easily. So the best thing to do is probably get one of those pet protective covers for the seats, and possibly like some WeatherTech floor mats for the floor. That would definitely make it a whole lot better, especially on a winter road trip. So the one thing that really bugged me with the seats is because there's that silver bar back there, the seats don't recline all the way back. So if you're in the passenger side and you want to take like a quick little nap or something, it's really hard to do so because you just can't get the seat to go as far back as you would on other cars. The only other trip I took before this one was when we drove from Dallas to Austin. It's about 3 hours. And after that trip, my back was hurting so bad. I'm not sure if I just didn't get it adjusted right, but I had the same thing happen in this car on the first leg of the trip. My back hurts. So for the first 3 or 4 hours, my back was just really hurting. And when I got out, I could just really feel it. I kind of have a bad back, so if you have a bad back, it's just kind of bad for that if you don't find the right positioning. I also feel like these seats are a little bit more stiff than my FRS, but once I kind of got it adjusted, after a while, I found the right position for the seats. It got better, and the second half of the trip, I actually didn't feel any pain at all. I think it was just a matter of finding the right position for your back. Probably would be a good idea to get some different seat cushions that go on your lower back or your neck. That would really help a whole lot, I think. So as far as sound, the best I can compare it to is just the FRS, but I've also driven like other higher up Toyotas like the Avalon and the Camrys, and it's a lot louder than that. It's more in line with the FRS because of the kind of open area here, which kind of just like, I think maybe a good comparison would be a 350Z, because that's also like a hatch with only 2 seats. Other hatchbacks like, I don't know, maybe like an RSX or something, those have rear seats, so it kind of closes off the back. But since this is open, you can hear everything that would be going on in the trunk. So it is a lot louder than probably some people would like, but I don't mind. It's not any louder than my FRS was in stock, so it's actually pretty tolerable. The really good sound system does kind of compensate for that because the treble and the bass are real good on this, so the soundproofing is really not a problem with the car. The road noise is not too much of a problem. As far as gas mileage, I was actually surprised by the gas mileage, because when I first started driving this car earlier this year, I didn't really take a lot of longer trips because of the pandemic. So I was noticing my gauge was showing like 15, 17 miles per gallon. So I was really expecting somewhere in the 20s for this road trip, but I saw the gauge started showing 32 miles per gallon, and I actually calculated it as well, and it came out to about 32 miles per gallon on the first half of the trip. So that was actually pretty good, really surprising. Gas mileage is really good. On this second half of the trip, we're right about 31 miles per gallon, and that's with just driving a little bit faster speeds. So I think that gas mileage is pretty good for this car on a road trip, and this is all using normal mode mostly, and sport mode like kind of sparingly. We didn't really run into any problems or reliability issues along the way, but the car doesn't really have very many miles either. A couple things to consider though as far as emergencies, because the car doesn't have a spare tire. If you do get a flat, hopefully it's just a small one and you can use the tire repair kit. But if you have like a blowout, there's a lot of potholes along the way, as well as a whole lot of potholes in Chicago. You're gonna have to call a tow truck to get towed somewhere. So I was really hoping to not have to experience that, and I'm glad I didn't. The other thing is, because they are summer tires, it's probably not a good idea to be driving it in an area where you expect a lot of snow. We were lucky to not have any snow. I checked beforehand, but there was always a chance. So I'm really not sure what I would have done if it started snowing. I guess I just would have been stuck there. That would have sucked. So the last thing I want to mention is just a couple creature comforts. First of all, the phone mounting. There's not really a lot of places to put phone mounts here, but there is a couple places that I've seen work pretty well. One, we do have a pop socket mount on the passenger side. not in the actual vents themselves, but to the right of that, because the vents move up and down, so it's kind of hard to actually put something on there without it flopping around. I've also seen somebody put a suction cup mount on the inside of the center console. That's actually a good place to put it. There's one USB port, one 12-volt socket, which we have a USB adapter plugged in, and there's two cup holders. There's also this kind of square looking thing in the back. We use that as kind of a cup holder as well. It'd be a good idea to get like a really small cooler to put in that area on the center console behind the seats. You could fit a really small cooler there. That would really help a lot with some of the creature comforts and having to store food and stuff like that. A few final thoughts. If you're not expecting snow, I think the Supra is just fine for a winter road trip. Now, if you pack pretty heavily and feel cramped in tight spaces, I would probably reconsider. If you have two people and a very active dog or a big dog, I would probably reconsider. I think it's perfect for someone who packs pretty lightly, and I also think it's perfect for a summer road trip. You're not going to have the cold weather to deal with, you're not going to have the stress of the holidays, so if you do get into an issue like a flat tire and you have to wait for a tow truck, you're not as stressed, I would think. So basically, if you guys already own this car, you already know kind of the things you have to deal with as far as the seating, as far as the space. But if you don't own one and you're considering getting a Supra, hopefully this video helped you guys out with that. If it did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I really do appreciate you guys watching this video. For those of you guys who are subscribed to my channel, you see the A90 Supra in the background here and the 1JZ. Because the throwout bearing on the FRS died right before this road trip, I had to kind of pause where I was. I actually planned to get the intake off of here and everything off and have it painted. I already have the engine paint, so I'm gonna do that today. So hopefully that video will be done in the next couple of days and I can push forward with this project. Today or tomorrow I should be getting the rest of the gaskets and I can put it all together. So I hope I can get it painted and dried before those gaskets come in, and then have time to put the gaskets on and then wrap up the video. But I really do appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you guys very much. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Tunnel